invite everyone to take a moment to get settled, find a comfortable position. I encourage everyone to get out 2 pieces of paper and a pen that we will use in this time, or colored pencils or markers, whatever you like to write with. Now, just want to fill you in. This joint chaplain meeting is going to look a little bit different than usual. I am going to, I think, have about a 15 to 20 minute video here for you, and then I'm going to invite you to take some time the next 40 minutes. If you can't do 40, at least 30 minutes to really carve out the rest of the joint chaplain meeting time to rest and to reflect, because we need that. Our work is so hard, and I want to practice one of the things that I'm learning, which is to not add to the things that we're doing, but instead to do less. And so instead of an extra long meeting, I want to give us a short meeting, a short video, and then invite you all to go personally to have some alone time. So if it's nice outside, I encourage you to go outside after this video, or take some time at your desk, or maybe the chapel, if you're at home, to find a room that gives you rest, allows you to rest. And yeah, this video will be 2 parts. I'm gonna take the first part to talk about and create some space for lament for the lives that have been taken in the Asian American community due to systematic racism and injustice. And I just want to invite those of you who are people of color within the group, who may talk about this daily and with your families, and who have already trauma due to these injustices, give you permission to mute me for the next 5 minutes, so that and just invite you to journal. And at the 5-minute mark, I'll also hold up this burnout book as well, to kind of give you the signal to unmute me and come back, because I really want to honor you and your story and your experience, and not add more trauma, but add rest here for you. So I encourage you to do that. And the second part is going to be some reflection questions that I'm going to give you, and talk about rest from the burnout book, which I know Courtney has mentioned already, and just encourage you and invite you to go take some space for yourself. So first, I want to begin by letting you see me here. Let's see. Okay, hopefully it doesn't go too far. Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about, there has been ongoing violence in the Asian American community. It's been ongoing in our country for ever, and ever since we were founded, and we don't talk about it. And a part of those injustices have even happened within our own community. And so I just want to point to that and encourage you to go educate and look up these things on your own. And then I also want to take some time to pause and honor the lives that have been lost due to systematic racism and stereotypes and biases towards the Asian American community. And they've happened even within our own community. churches within the Asian American churches within the area have received hate crimes and that have been posted up on their boards outside churches and received emails and threats, and we want to take this really seriously. Also, just part of our history, something that I've learned recently, unfortunately recently, is more about the internment camps that happened in the 1800s, and would encourage you to go look that up. There you can look up specifically a Japanese internment camp in Seattle. It was actually closer to our area up here, and it's really important for us to know our history, to know where we've come from and what what kind of racism and injustices have taken place here in order for us to work against the racism today. So there continues to be ongoing violence and injustice towards our Asian American community, verbal and physical abuse, and shootings. So yeah, this is something we want to take seriously. Chaplain Saison sent me a video recently, which was so helpful, by Austin Channing Brown, who is a Black woman, an educator, a writer, a speaker on racial reconciliation, and she encourages all of us to, she says, what can we do as white people to work against racism and to confront it. And she says the best thing that we can do is to fight against racism, to name racism within our own families, within our own workplaces, our own communities, our friend groups. That is the most important thing that we can do. And it takes courage to do that, and it's so valuable, and it's what's needed for there to be change, for there to be humanizing of people of color, of marginalized people, the LGBTQI community, neurodiverse people. We need to talk about these things, and we need to speak against biases and stereotypes. And this happens. I've seen it within our own hospital, and just encourage you to have a keen awareness. And when you hear someone saying something inappropriate or dehumanizing or shaming someone else, to call it out. As chaplains, we see a lot in the hospital. So this is an encouragement from Austin, and a thank you from Chaplain Saison. Chaplain Saison is also the one who encouraged me to think creatively. She has an incredible gift for creative thinking and being, and just encouraged as I was processing some ideas with her for today. She said, what about reflecting and kind of giving you all back the moment and opportunity to reflect. So thank you, Chaplain Saison. And without further ado, I just want to, I'm going to name the Asian American people whose lives were lost, and then take a moment of pause for them and their families. So within the last month, Doi Fang, Hyun Yong Grant, Sun Cha Kim, Soon Si Park, Shois Tan, Yoon Yi, Delani A. Yoon. Take a moment of silence. We also lament the recent physical abuse that happened and occurred to a 61-year-old woman in New York City. Her name is Vilma Kari. And of the 71-year-old woman who was also physically abused in the streets. She was walking to her family's house. Her name is Sho Zen Shi. We lament these injustices, and we want to stand with the Asian American people and community in our own departments, in our own hospital, in our own community. And I recognize I have so much to learn still, and am committed to continuing to learn. So if you have any questions, please come to me. I'm working with Kyla Alvarez and the Diversity Committee, along with Chaplain Cezanne and others, to create policy change and equity for people of color. And so if you have any questions, know that you're coming to someone who's learning and willing to find those answers with you as well. So I'm going to transition in the last part of this video, dedicate this to our meditation and to rest. So this book, Burnout, these two sisters talk about the secret to unlocking the stress cycle. And they say that in our society, we are so often told, that rest is an extra thing that we do if we have time. And they talk about how they define what's called the human giver syndrome, which is very, very prevalent in caregiver professions such as ours, that says that if we are giving, then our identity is in giving, and it is selfish to take time for ourselves, to pour back into ourselves. And so they speak against this. And one of the things they do so beautifully in this book is to say, to rest doesn't mean to add more to our list. Instead, rest when self-care means to say no to things, to take boundaries, or to make boundaries, and to ask ourselves what gives us rest in life, and to really advocate for that. And so I just want to read one of the ways they did that in their own book was including at the end of each chapter too long didn't read sections, just naming that we may even not have time to read a book. And I know that can be true for me as well. And so I included a worksheet of including many of the too long didn't read bullet points on my desk. For those that are in the office, feel free to grab those. And for everyone else, I will make sure to email them to you. I also encourage you to get the book, to listen to it on audio if you can. It's really helpful. I found it really helpful in learning and asking the question, how do I rest? How do I take care of myself in this really hard work? Hard and life-giving, fulfilling work. And so I'm going to read for you the too long didn't read section for the rest chapter. And then we'll transition into our questions, and I will invite you to take some time. So they say, we will literally die without rest. The women's names are Emily Nagoski and Amelia Nagoski. Forgive me, I want to name them. They say, we will literally die without rest. Finding time for rest is not a first world problem. It's about survival. We all need it. They say, we are not built to persist incessantly, but to oscillate from effort to rest and back again. It's been proven, on average, we need to spend 42% of our time, that's 10 hours a day, on rest. If we don't take the time to rest, then our bodies will revolt and force us to take the time. And finally, they say human giver syndrome tells us it's self-indulgent to rest, which makes as much sense as believing it's weak or self-indulgent to breathe. Getting the rest your body requires is an act of resistance against the forces that are trying to rig the game and make you helpless. Reclaim rest, and you reclaim sovereignty over your own life. And I don't know about you, but I myself have found that actually resting has been really hard to do in a new way. I know how to rest in my old way, but how do I really rest, find quality rest? And one of the ways they encourage that for people that are doers and who have a hard time giving themselves permission to rest is by actually carving out a time on your calendar for rest and committing to it, just as much as you'd commit to a meeting, a parent-teacher conference, is prioritizing it. And by communicating this to your families, to your partners, to your loved ones, by asking you could do this by asking the person you're married to give you an hour of alone time daily, weekly, monthly. Carve it out many times and ask them to go to a park, or you go to a park, or them to go to run some errands and give you an hour at least or more of time to rest intentionally. Another way is if you have kiddos, to ask your loved one to watch your kiddos for an hour while you go take some time, and then to later, a different day, after some time, to do that for them. And this really encourages rest and helps us to start to ask the question and have grace for yourself as you start. Maybe take the first couple times of rest to ask what gives you rest and to reflect on how you're feeling. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to excuse you and give you 4 questions here to write down. So if you'll write them down, and you can answer them by journaling or drawing or thinking, whatever, however you process. First question is, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? I encourage you to take about 10 minutes for each of these questions. Set a timer on your phone if you need more time, and if you need structure, I would say timer in 10 minutes. Next question. What do you need to let go of in order to rest? What do you need to let go of in order to rest? Third question. What did you learn about rest growing up? What did you learn about rest growing up? Or the question may be, what were you taught about rest growing up? And the last question, what seeds do you need to plant or replant in order to rest? What seeds do you need to plant or replant in order to rest? The seeds might be new boundaries, new rhythms, permission to, commitment to rest. Just some examples. Listen to your body. You know yourself. Take time to know yourself. Thank you for taking time with me. And I now encourage you to go take time for you.